we want to talk about raising awesome kids. And before we get into it, I'll just want to introduce you to everyone who's watching this recording. So Christina, in her own words, is a woman who switches roles like a chameleon. And I love that. It's from your blog. I just love the sentence. It's so cute. Who changes its color to adapt to its dynamic environment. She's a jet-setting cosmopolitan with a flair for life, arts, and education, a trailing expert, talent with passion for literature, writing, and fashion, and a glowing wife, as you can see, to a busy executive husband and a proud mother to 3 wonderful daughters. And I'm really grateful you're here today because we've connected for a little while through the She Can membership, She Can network, where we're both members and ambassadors. And through the network, I've met a lot of amazing women, and you're one of them. And we've been talking a little bit, and I know you've got, like we said, you've got 3 amazing daughters. And I thought, because I do get quite a few messages from my community in terms of parenting and challenges that we're facing, but by no means I would call myself a parenting expert. I'm struggling with my little 7-year-old son at the moment. And I've talked to quite a few women who already have older children. And I think there's so much to learn and so much richness in that. So I'm really grateful you're here today. And yeah, I don't know if you want to start a little bit about yourself and, you know, your daughters, maybe tell us a little bit more about them. I know they are, what ages? 20, 16, and 13, right? So, and your oldest one, she just graduated in America, isn't it? So yeah, tell us a little bit more, paint the picture of like what your family is like.
So first of all, Anne, thank you so much for the invite to be here. Really appreciate it. From one woman to another, takes one to know one. And if I can be helpful and useful in any way, I'm happy to be here. My purpose is to help women to step into their own personal power, own it, and move forward. And you're right, I have 3 daughters, as if God sent me. There's a saying, if God wants to compliment you, he gives you a daughter, right? I'm a mother of 3 daughters. Wanted to have a son, of course, but didn't happen. So I decided to turn my women, my girls, into independent, powerful, sure ladies who can run the world one day. And right, they're 20, 16, and 13. And from day one, I've been instilling this confidence and self-worth into them by being an example and by showing them that what is life about, what they could turn it into by constant presence, by constant teaching, by being an example. And of course, as a mother, I'm biased, and like every mother thinks that my kids are the best. But when I told you before, when I see a total stranger complimenting how polite they are, how wonderful they are, I'm like, oh my God, yes. So it's not just me, people can see that. That makes me feel like my job as a mother has not gone unnoticed. You know, as mothers, we don't get instant gratification. We don't get paychecks. Our job is never done.
Yeah.
But if something like that happens, this is when you're like, I've done something right. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you had a few challenges in life, and I'm wondering, how did you get that confidence that you've been modeling to your daughters?
I wish I had someone like me, I guess, to tell me that I could get anything on my mind, anything I could put my mind to, I could make it happen. But I grew up, I was born into the Soviet Union era where everything was predetermined for you. Like they would tell you, we need engineers, we need doctors, we need this, you know.
Yeah.
No one you to go after your passion. It wasn't in fashion. So my mother, my upbringing, my parents didn't instill that self-confidence in me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to search it myself. I have to come about. I felt the void. So I turned to books. Mm-hmm. My teachers were, and books were really very hard to find. You had to like come up with so many, you had to some metals, some paper, something, you know, there in Soviet Union, you had to stand in lines to get the books. There were no libraries. So I actually went on a search to people who had books, and I'm like, can I borrow it? Can I read it? So I got all my wisdom from there. I couldn't travel. I didn't have the the means, but I really inhaled everything I could get in the book. And I was so lucky at the age of 12, someone gave me a book of Dale Carnegie, How to Become Effective, How to Make the Relationship Work, How to Move Forward. And from that day, I just kept practicing on and on. And so when I became a mom, I'm like, there you go. I have something I could teach my children because it worked for me. So I can see if it could work for them. And I was lucky in that way that I somehow found an outlet for my self-expression, for my self-development, and I took it forward and took it, more. As time progressed, I read more, I made myself available to meetings, and just what you have to be is be open to opportunities. And I never said it's not for me. I was always curious. And that curiosity got, yes.
Exactly. No, I love that you just said curious, because that was the word that kept coming up in my mind. And I've personally been doing quite a bit of research about curiosity and the benefit of it, because I obviously noticed that, children at young age, they are naturally curious. And I think my son is quite curious, and I always foster that. And I noticed as well that, like, recently I was asked, in terms of how I started the business and how I managed to do it all. I mean, always everyone says I do it all, but it's not actually like that. But for me, it was a lot of like curiosity. What happens? What can I do? And like you finding the books, I always try to find resources that help me solve a problem. Or like these conversations now, like I'm struggling with the parenting of my son. So I talk to other women to get resources, to get input. And I think this curiosity piece is so important. And I don't know if that's something that you also shared with your daughters to make them curious. You think that's something that is important?
Before I became a life coach, I viewed curiosity as a way of learning new things without the prejudice. So what happens is you become curious, you stop being judgmental. Yeah. So curiosity was judgment. So I teach it to my children. So instead of saying, how come you do it this way? You go, oh, I like how you do it this way. Tell me more about it. When you approach it like that, the person in front of you does not feel confronted. Feels like, oh, let me show you. This way, point changes, your paradigm shifts. And instead of judging, you become curious. How come people in this country do things this way? How come this culture do it this way? Instead of judging, you embrace it. And that's what curiosity. So I always instill in it in each of my child. And I told them that whenever you're unsure about something, instead of being judgmental, try to approach the situation with curiosity and see what happens. You'll be amazed.
Yeah, I love that. Exactly. That's what it is. Be open-minded and see what's out there. And are these kind of things that you had conversations with them, or like is there something like topics that you had some really important conversations, maybe you even prepared for them, or you were like, like, I'm wondering, are there conversations that you've been having with your daughters which you would say are like essential, every parent should be talking about these topics, kind of thing?
So what happens is life happens, right? You don't know when you would need a piece of information, how to prepare someone for life. But what happens in our home, there is an open communication. We don't have any secrets from one another. What I've told my daughters is, no matter what happens, if you have a problem, if you have a question, if you think you did something bad, and you don't want to talk to us about, you think we're going to judge you, just come to us. We promise, my husband and I, come to mom, come to daddy. We will accept it. We will be curious to see what you're dealing with. We will not judge you as long as there's open communication going. When you say something like that to your child, they truly listen, and you have to instill that in them, that no matter what happens, they can always trust you with their problem, because together we're stronger, and we would always come up with an answer. And that has been the best way to instill that trust in open communication. And my kids would come say, Mom, how come so-and-so from this culture does this way? we do it this way. So whenever something like that happens, like even eating habits, like they did with this, they did with that. So I said, okay, isn't that wonderful? Well, but we eat it like that. So I was going like, well, according to their culture, this is what they stress about. So just like we tell you, you eat this with bread, you drink this, or you. So I said, those are the set of rules that their parents taught them. Isn't that wonderful? Is there something you would like to embrace from their culture? Is it something that they like from your culture? Why don't you exchange and you take something that you like and borrow it and in your daily routine and see what happens, you know, instead of judging, be curious. If you like it, you can always borrow it, and it both ways. So, and that has been the best, I guess, advice I could tell our children. And you don't just give advice, you be the example, because if you say something, you do something else, then the kids get confused.
Yeah.
It's like you preach one thing, you do one thing.
Exactly.
Example, I meet many parents and ask, how come your kids love to read? We see them with books. How did you teach them how to read? Like, what did you do? My question goes, have they seen you with a book once? They're like, well, no, I don't like. You cannot be advocating something without being an example.
Yeah.
My children me with a book every minute. My husband is not big on reading, he's working. Yeah. But reading books is a passion of mine. And I've mimicked it. I've showed an example, and there are 3 of them. I'm so happy. They have just, it's a passion of theirs. And they said, Mom, we seen you with a book. We thought this is what we should be doing. Yeah. And I'm so with readers. So you have to advocate what you preach.
Yeah, I see that with my oldest, with the creativity, because, you know, I love arts and sewing and creating things, and I've always done that, and I always let him be with me. I always gave him the stuff, the clay, the beads, the whatever. And sometimes when he's bored, he just comes up and he takes, I don't know, I mean, I'm collecting toilet paper rolls in the cupboard so that he can just grab it, and he takes the glue gun and he builds whatever, you know, a marble run or something. But it's exactly because he's seen me doing that, you know, and this is amazing. This is, again, like, we've got, as moms, we've got that power that we just show them and they sponge it up and they can do it. It's not always easy, because sometimes, you know, we might not be the best role models, but that's okay as well. But yeah, I'm curious now, go ahead.
Parenthood is never easy, and the best role models for the children up to age 5 is the parents. Exactly. It's the environment.
It's the environment. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so parenthood is not always easy. And you mentioned your husband a few times, and obviously he is working a lot. So I guess the main parenting was on you. As an expat, you have traveled a lot. So you build your life, you pack it up, you go somewhere else and you start over. And I can imagine that must have been quite challenging. And would you say that that's kind of one of the main challenges in terms of your parenting, or is there something else that challenged you a lot?
Yes, for 12 years, all I've been doing is pack and unpack. 12 years. Wow. Every couple do that. So for me, as stressful as it is, and they say moving is equal to on a stress level as to losing loved one. I did not know that. I found out like 10 years ago. I was reading on a stress level. I'm like, oh my God. So I shared it with my husband and shared it with our children later. And they're like, Mom, it's really wow. And my husband never had to do moving. He was always busy when I packed and unpacked. Yeah. After one time he stayed while we were moving from Korea, and he's like, oh my God. He's like, I had no idea what you were talking about until I felt it. And that alone could make you or break you, but it's how you look at things. And I thought, this is towards progress. So get your stuff together, get yourself together. You could do this. One of the main challenges is dealing with children as they had to leave the friends they finally got to meet and move on. So the breaking of friendships and starting anew was difficult on children. They have created resilience with years, but it's never easy. It's something we can constantly talk to them about, but once you make attachments to friends, and no matter how much you know about that you're going to live in 2-3 years, it's still difficult. So we have to pick up the pieces when they were all breaking down and crying, and it's not easy. So empathy comes as a mother. You allow them the space to mourn their friendships, and it's a global world. You no longer are stuck in one place. Look at all the friendships you've made. Now you visit each other in different countries. Like my older daughter just had a Shanghai reunion in London with 6 of her friends. So she's like, Mom, you know what? When you told me that 5 years ago, I'm like, what do you know about loss, this and that? You grew up in one place, 10 years, went to the same school. She said, Mom, you were right. And that just warms my heart. So my child me that I was right.
You're right. Yeah. This is the thing that we like to hear. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Then otherwise I was curious to just see, I like to, when I speak to other moms, especially moms who already have older children, is there something that you would do differently? Like if you could travel back in time, looking at your younger self,
yes,
you would tell yourself or do differently? It doesn't have to be do differently, but something that you would tell yourself, something that you've learned later in the years.
Mm-hmm. You know what I would? Because when they were little and I was struggling, frustrated, tired, lack of sleep, I'm like, this is so tiring. But now when I look back and I look at all the baby pictures, I'm like, man, I should have been more. I should have been more present. And I'm a stay-at-home mom. I left my career to be with my children. So you think, what more did you want? I wish I had more time. I wish I enjoyed each moment, each bath, because time flies. I have 20, 16 and 13-year-old. It felt like yesterday they were born and now they're independent. They no longer need me to give them a bath, to do their hair. Miss that so very much. So to all the young mothers, with younger children, please enjoy that time, because this too shall pass.
Yes, exactly. It's so true.
I actually very nostalgically think about all this. I'm like, I hug you and
no, I noticed that with my second one, time just went by so quickly. That baby stage, that was just gone in no time. It was like, what? I just had a baby and now he's so big already. And this went too fast. Definitely, it goes too fast.
If I could slow down, now I want to pause the time. Before I'm like, okay, maybe they get older faster, right? You like try to fast forward.
Exactly. When they get to school age, when they get to teenage,
just like when you're trying to grow up, you're like, when will I grow up? Now I want to go backwards.
Yes, exactly. Now if we could just be children again. Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned your job. I'm curious as well, because obviously you were a stay-at-home mom. Now they're growing up. You're facing an empty nest kind of soonish. That's probably a transition and some feelings and emotions there. And then you now kind of getting back into like building your own career. So maybe you want to talk a bit about that.
I've stepped into life coaching several years ago. As I was transitioning in this expat life, I meet many women that are searching for themselves, for their purpose, what's next, the emptiness and all of that. So I came to the transition when I was searching for what's next for me, what's my purpose, what should I do with all the knowledge, all the books, all that experience, how can I pay it forward, how can I be useful? This is when life coaching happened, when I went on my personal journey, and after I felt the effects of it, I changed physically, mentally. I'm like, oh my God, this stuff really works. So I should not only learn and absorb for myself, I want to share it with other women some are struggling, some are looking for new ways, new avenues, some are doubting yourself. I wanted to help each and one of them to step into their personal power, own it, and move the mountains like I have been moving. So, and that's some powerful stuff.
I love that. Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I think you're doing a really great job. So keep doing it. And I think for me, it's incredible through our own experience, what we learn. And then when we share it, it's just, it can be really, really powerful what we can shift in other people. And again, this is the beauty of this international world and this online world, that we can, be in touch with people from Dubai and Shanghai and Germany and God knows where in the world, and yeah, get to share our experiences and hopefully make things a little bit better for someone, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the key takeaway is I just did a little blog thing and on my coaching Instagram section. And what I love about it is that, many women, we're perfectionists, we try to be. And my message to the ladies was, were you doubting yourself, your strength, your capabilities, and what you could do? Someone else is admiring your strength, your elegance, you do things. So it does matter. You do matter. Believe in yourself. You could influence one person, but that's enough. That other person can influence another person, and the domino effect falls in. So never give up on yourself. Believe in yourself and see what happens. Give yourself a chance.
Love that. Well, thank you. These are amazing words to close it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here today. And yeah, everyone who's watching, send me an email. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. We can always connect you with Christina as well. Maybe you want to share your Instagram, or what is your best where people can connect with you?
Sure. Christina_coaches.
Yeah, exactly. So connect on Instagram, ask her questions if you want to know anything, or if you've got any struggles. And yeah, Christina, thank you so much. It was wonderful to talk to you.